Oh, oh, there we go. Okay, let's see if that works any better. Yeah, I know there's a bit of a time delay, but I'm sorry. There's no real way to test this before I go live, so this is what we have to deal with. I still don't hear anything coming back. That isn't the deal. Let me see if I change the microphone. Alright, now I'm onto the desktop. Oh, there we go. Okay, let's see if that works any better. Yeah, I know there's a bit of a time delay, but I'm sorry. There's no real way to test this before I go live, so this is what we have to deal with. Alright, I still don't hear anything coming back. That isn't the deal. Let me see. I think we're good. If I change the microphone. Alright, now I'm onto the desktop. Oh, there we go. Sorry, folks. Okay, let's see if that works. 3 minutes in, and we're still checking audio, but I think we're good. So I'm just going to. Yeah, I know there's a bit of a time delay, but continue. I'm sorry. There's no real way to test this before I go live. All right. Well, welcome to the One State Solution show. I think that's what I'm going to start calling this. Every time I come online, it's going to be the One State Solution show. I'm pretty sure that that's what I'm going to want. Okay, that's kind of what the way I want this to go. The One State Solution show with Ask an Atheist. That's me. I actually do have a name, and unfortunately I've kind of... Oh, there it is. Alright, I should put it down there. Yes, I do have a name, and there it is. There you go. To continue from my last video that I made, where this lady Sinead was, kiking all the kikes and Jewy all the Jews, and aren't they Jewy enough, and who needs them anyway? No wonder they needed to be kicked out of Europe. They're such Jews. They're like really anti-Jewish. So now I want to kick off with the notion, or I want to expose the myth of the notion of the understanding of the concept today of Palestinian. Forget about Palestine, just think of Palestinian. And I want to focus on that. I'm going to always have as an axiom in my my one state solution show, the axiom is, according to international law, there is no human entity as a Palestinian anymore. Not since Israel declared independence. That was the day that a Palestinian was either a Israeli Jew, Israeli Arab, Jordanian, Egyptian, something like that. Oh, and Syrian. I'm also going to show you, if I get time, the actual map. A couple of actual maps. The first one is the original mandate that that Britain was given, the mandate over Palestine. And what you're going to see, that Palestine, that Britain had the mandate over Palestine, is huge, huge territory. It includes, number one, the Golan Heights. Number two, all of the area between the Jordan River and the Mediterranean Sea, and all of Jordan. That was Palestine. You're also going to see that at the Jordan River, not including the Golan Heights, at the Jordan River, everything east of the Jordan River, called Transjordan for a time, everything east of that was prohibited to Jewish immigration. It was called Arab Palestine, and everything west of the Jordan River, including the Golan Heights, was referred to as Jewish Palestine. This was around 1922, I think. By the time we got to 1947, when Britain threw up their hands and gave up on the mandate, the United Nations had been formed, and on the piece of land that was set aside for Jewish immigration only, because of the Arab revolts and Arab riots and the fighting between the Arabs and the Jews, and the Arabs and the British, and the fact that for some stupid dumb reason the British government did not allow, or was very restrictive of the type of Jewish immigration to Jewish Palestine, and used to enforce, try and stop the Jews from coming to Jewish Palestine. Now, in light of this, the United Nations came up with a compromise in 1947, and you'll see the size of the map, or the split on the map between the Jewish area of Palestine and the Jewish area of Jewish Palestine and the Arab area of Jewish Palestine. And then you'll see what happened what the end result was when the Arab countries became belligerent, when they became aggressive, when they attacked. Israel, of course, responded. As in any war, an army, whether they're attacked or not, if they're better, they'll capture territory from their aggressors, because they're going to get them to surrender or get them to retreat, and they hold on to the territory. That's what war is. So you're going to see how that happens, how that unfolds. And I think that by the end of maybe even this show, but certainly by the end of a number of series of the One State Solution show, I think you'll get a good understanding of the bad propaganda that's been fed to the world, and the bad propaganda to which a lot of people hold without really knowing anything about the historical backgrounds. A lot of lies from the Arabs, a lot of lies from the Palestinians. I don't recognize anyone today as a Palestinian, and I'll, of course, get to why. And maybe the first video that I'm going to show you will explain to you. Now, I have lined up by YouTube download. Thank you very much. A law professor, Professor Eugene Kontorovich, who is an expert on international law. He explains everything exactly as he understands international law, him being an expert and a lecturer at some university, I forget which, but there's always the details down there somewhere. And there you go. Now, I do have a Hangout open. Right now, it has got, me in it. And that's for a specific reason, of course, because I wanted to go live and I didn't want anyone to butt in, which they would if they were in a Hangout that I was in as I go live. So I do welcome anybody to come into the Hangout. Perhaps we should watch the video first. The one in question that we're going to watch today, it's only 10 minutes long. So I encourage an uninterrupted watch session of the video. If you'd like to join the Hangout, well, we do have an outside chat. You can request. And if we're sort of following each other or whatever, and I can add you, I will. If not, get some way for me to send you a link privately, or follow me, or whatever it takes. I don't know what it takes. So there you go. So today the One State Solution show is going to feature Professor Eugene Kontorovich. And this was some time ago where the Palestinians made a bid for statehood at the United Nations. I think they even got it, or I'm not sure because I didn't pay attention to this video, maybe didn't watch the whole thing. But Professor Kontorovich surely will be able to tell us. So excuse me while I set up old Professor Kontorovich. I will be back with you in just a moment. All right. Let me see. What do you see? The image you have, the graphic you have, is the area of Palestine. The British mandate for Palestine, which was finalized at the San Remo conference, which took place from 1920 to 1922. And as you can see, all this in yellow, okay? All this in yellow is Palestine. Okay, take that. Make that your premise. Make that your axiom. Make that your understanding. Okay, this is the real history. This is Palestine, for which the British have had the mandate after the First World War. All right, so let's introduce Professor Kontorovich and let him get kicking right away.
The thing to look forward to in the coming weeks is the Palestinian bid for membership of the United Nations. Now, this may seem like deja vu all over again. They sought membership in the from the Security Council last year. So what's going on? So first of all, one has to understand this is a violation of the Oslo Accords, a complete abrogation, as they set final status issues, like the countries, to negotiations. But the Security Council is the only body that can admit a country to the United Nations. The United Nations has a very clear membership acceptance procedure. It first has to be approved by the Security Council and then by the General Assembly. So they've given up for now on the Security Council avenue. So what are they going to the General Assembly for? So there are kind of two parts to it. The General Assembly cannot accept them as a member. They can accept them as a non-member state. Well, what's that do for them? What's that do for them? First of all, it's another occasion to have an anti-Israel vote, and that's a big function. And it's going to be scary, and there are going to be many things said very critical of Israel. Remember, we've been through worse. The General Assembly, which is going to vote to make Palestine a non-member state, already voted that Zionism is racism, which means that presumably Israel does not have any legitimate existence within any borders. So we've seen worse from the General Assembly. So it has a kind of political effect. The primary use the Palestinians seem to think they're going to get out of this is to allow them to sue Israel in the International Criminal Court for violating Article 49.6. Here's a neat trick. When they were ratifying the charter of the International Criminal Court, they basically took all of the war crimes provisions of the Geneva Convention and they cut and pasted them and called them war crimes within the jurisdiction of the International Criminal Court. That's how they defined war crimes. They didn't come up with a new definition, they just borrowed from that's a very normal thing. In one or two places, they changed the wording, just a little bit. Both apparently to pull in Israel. So for example, under the charter of the International Criminal Court, the relevant provision is exactly the same, except it says transfer directly or indirectly. Well, that's exactly what the Geneva Conventions doesn't say, and that underscores the absence of that language in the Geneva Conventions. However, so Israel's not a party to the ICC, so it doesn't have to worry about this now. It has not signed that treaty. But if the Palestinians can come in and say, well, we accept this treaty, we're a country, we can sign treaties, then they hope to be able to sue Israel for violation of this treaty, and this makes Israelis very worried. Are they going to be able to travel, and so forth? I think some of these concerns it's troubling. There will be a new era of lawfare, and it will be a focal point in a new delegitimization campaign. But one needs to stay a little bit calm. I don't know that the ICC is going to fall over itself to take these lawsuits, for a variety of reasons. If the ICC has jurisdiction over alleged Israeli crimes in the West Bank, it also has jurisdiction over Palestinian crimes. And it will not be long before Israel starts pressing those charges, and I don't think the ICC wants to get involved with that. So it's not clear. I don't know how excited I'm sure they don't like Israel. I'm sure there's no love lost between the ICC and Israel, but they do want to project some kind of fairness. I think it would be very difficult for them just to take cases against Israel, and they may see themselves as best off staying out of it entirely. But that's the advantage that is that they are seeking. It's a pretty technical thing. Now, what makes it particularly unusual is the General Assembly can at most admit them as a member, but non-member state, so that you're a state. You're a state, okay. But saying that an entity is a state actually says nothing about their borders. So they want to have this kind of very unusual thing. They want to be recognized as a state with the so-called 67 borders. So that's a very unusual thing. You know, when the General Assembly, when India and Pakistan are admitted into the UN, there's no determination of their border, or Russia and Japan, or China and Japan. So half the members of the United Nations have border disputes with each other, and membership in the United Nations does not any kind of determination of where that border runs. So already it shows the political nature. If the United Nations actually votes that they are a state within the 67 borders, that is far from the membership function, or the state recognition function of the General Assembly, and also seems to have no particular legal force in and of itself. Now, the interesting thing is the Palestinians already have asked for statehood. They declared themselves a state in 1988. So this is not a new thing, right? This is kind of like when Abbas threatens to resign from his presidency, which expired 4 years ago. So it's not clear what they're doing, right? So they declared themselves a state in 1988. They have observer status at the UN. So now they say, but now we'll really be a state. The Palestinians are already recognized by almost as many countries as recognize Israel. So it's not like they need the United Nations to say they're a state. They say they're a state. Most of the countries in the world say that they're a state. The only thing that this United Nations statehood thing does is serve as a kind of focal point for anti-Israel efforts, like an occasion for everyone to gang up, and this very technical point about jurisdiction of international tribunals. They're already a state. When the Palestinians get sued in U.S. courts for supporting terrorism, what's their defense? They don't say we didn't do it. They say sovereign immunity. We're a country. You can't sue us. And they've been saying that since 1988. And indeed, they actually do have many aspects of a country. No. They have a telephone calling code, a top-level internet domain name, their own army, a central bank which prints money, ministries, embassies all around the world. They travel, they conduct business like a country. They have their own TV programs, which does not seem like are censored by Israel. They have control over more than 90% of the Palestinian population. It actually, in many ways, looks like a country. And this is the fundamental tension of the Palestinian claim. On the one hand, they like having a country. They don't want this taken away from them. They want the UN to reaffirm their countryness. On the other hand, they want to keep saying occupation. And this is why this General Assembly thing is not going to be the end of the story, because they want to be a country, but they want to be occupied at the same time. And it's conceptually possible, but they don't want to go all the way down the road of countryhood, because then Israel will say, look, you have your phones, you have your army, you have control of the people. Okay, you're a country, stop bothering us. Well then say, but we don't have all the land we want. Well that has nothing to do with occupation or being a country. That's called a border dispute. That's not apartheid, that's a border dispute. Half the countries in the world have that. So this is the tension. And whenever you hear someone say apartheid, ask them, should Israel negotiate with the democratically elected Palestinian leadership? Of course they should. But wait, if they have democratically elected leadership, how can we say that we don't let them vote? Right, because the Palestinians, they want to vote, but they want to vote twice, which I'm sympathetic to, coming from Chicago. They want to elect the government of the Palestinian Authority, and then they say, and if you don't give us what we want, we'll demand to vote in Israeli elections. So this is the fear, by the way, and this is the big fear. When President Obama says he's really a friend of the Jews, he's a friend of Israel, he's saying, look, I am saving you from this horrible thing where the Palestinians are going to come and vote in the Israeli elections, and that will be presumably the end of Israel. So I don't know even if that would be the end of Israel, but they're never going to do it. Right? Why? Because if they were to say, we want a one-state solution, let's all just vote in Israeli elections, presumably that would mean that the entire Palestinian Authority and all these ambassadors and all this recognition and all this nice stuff and all the money they get from Europe would be disbanded. Right? You couldn't have the Palestinian government and the Israeli government, and Mahmoud Abbas, who's now the mayor of Ramallah, would then be the leader of a small faction in the Knesset. And he'd go from having an army to having a driver. So it's very hard to understand why they would actually want that. Now, to put this another way, the Palestinians were given a lot of stuff under Oslo. All of this, a country, government recognition, army, central bank, complete control of their own affairs, and the apartheid claim is a very odd one in that it doesn't recognize that at all. And indeed, all of the rhetoric about the peace process is as if none of this ever happened. So when we hear the scare tactic, it's the big scare tactic, they're going to vote in Israeli elections. Say, great, we'll vote in Palestinian Authority elections. And we're not going to vote for Mahmoud Abbas. So if they're voting in Israeli elections, presumably the settlers can be voting for Danny Dayan to be the head of the Palestinian Authority. And that will be an interesting situation. But I think it's a situation which nobody wants, and so I don't think it's going to happen. So a lot of the things that we're supposed to be afraid of seem conceptually impossible and are bogeymen or non sequiturs. So I think we should feel a little bit better about that.
Should Israel withdraw its military?
So, yeah, there you go. That was Professor Eugene Kontorovich. And hold on a second. Yeah, Professor Eugene Kontorovich, and I hope that you guys got some kind of a sense of what really is going on, or what we're dealing with in the historical process. This is not a joke. This is actually stuff that's going to make a difference down the road. Let me check El Cheto on the side. Okay, there's no one. There's no one there that seems to want to join into a hangout, into a chat. So that's good. That's fine. I'll leave it there. I have more and more and more videos and chat material. So I'll keep on churning it out. Well, when I say churn it out, once every whenever I feel like it, really. And hopefully we can get some people in here to understand, I can show people, hopefully, that to understand how this all works, and it's not just the propaganda and the fake news that you've been hearing for decades. Alrighty. I'm still going to go check to see if there's anyone who would like to come in, because if not, then we will just... yeah, so that's going to be about it. We're going to close this one out. I would like to request that you like the video, if you like the video, that you subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and that you share the video and the channel with others who you might think would be in any way interested, or as I know for sure a fact that there's a lot of people with kind of insomnia, and these people with insomnia a lot of the time can't fall asleep. They need something to fall asleep to, and I've been told that just listening to my shows helps people with insomnia actually get to sleep. And to keep it going, times are hard, as you know. I would appreciate a donation, one-time, recurring, whatever. That is, if you aren't already yourself, on a fixed income. And I thank you for watching. Hey, please comment. I hope the comments are enabled, but please comment, and we will see you on the next The One State is the Solution show with Ask an Atheist. Keep it going. Times are hard, as you know. I would appreciate a donation, one-time, recurring, whatever. That is, if you aren't already yourself, on a fixed income. And I thank you for watching. Hey, please comment. I hope the comments are enabled, but please comment, and we will see you on the next The One State is the Solution show with Ask an Atheist.